What's up? My name is Eric Butler. This channel is called Report and Opine. I am back. And from the Associated Press, media dropped Dilbert after creator's black, quote, hate group remark. Now, this is going viral for a couple days. I wasn't going to say anything about it. I really didn't care. I didn't think it was that exciting, but they just won't stop talking about it. So let's see what actually happened, according to the Associated Press. Now, what actually happened, because the news and what actually happened is obviously two different things. The creator of the Dilbert comic strip faced a backlash of cancellation Saturday while defending remarks describing people who are black as members of a hate group from which white people should, quote, get away. All right, well, it sounds bad when you put it that way. But, of course, it goes without saying, if the roles were reversed, it would be 100% fine. Various media publishers across the U.S. denounced the comments by Dilbert creator Scott Adams as racist, hateful, and discriminatory while saying they would no longer provide a platform for his work. Okay, yeah, I'm sure this guy's been doing Dilbert for 4 decades or something, for a long time. I'm sure he's not really worried about it anymore. He could have retired years ago. And look, he can have an opinion. You don't always have to have the same opinion. Ask Dave Chappelle, ask Kanye West, ask Don Lemon. You are open, you are free to have your opinion. That's part of it. That's what, right? Like, free speech is about speech that I don't like. It's not free speech to say things that I like every single time, right? But as we know, this is all about control. Andrew McSteel's syndication, which distributes Dilbert, did not immediately respond Saturday to requests for comment, but Adams defended himself on social media against those whom he said hate me and are canceling me. Okay. Dilbert is a long-running comic that pokes fun at office place culture. The backlash began following an episode this past week of the YouTube show, quote, Real Coffee with Scott Adams. That's his YouTube show. All right, so that's where it took place. Among other topics, Adams referenced a Rasmussen report survey that it asked whether people agreed with the statement, "It's okay to be white." Now, this, of course, that was this stupid Rona pharmaceutical ads everywhere in the Associated Press. Most agreed, but Adams noted that 26% of black respondents disagreed and others weren't sure. The Anti-Defamation League says the phrase was popularized in 2017 as a trolling campaign by members of the discussion forum 4chan, but then began being used by some, of course, anybody who said it was a white supremacist. They just can't. They realize, right? The media realizes by now that the terms that they use no longer hold any meaning because they've just beat them into the ground. The boy who cried wolf on steroids at its best. Adams, who is white, repeatedly referred to people who are black as members of a hate group or a racist hate group and said he would no longer help black Americans. All right, fine. Sounds terrible, but he's allowed to have an opinion. Like, he didn't beat anybody up. He didn't beat somebody over the head with a bike lock. He didn't punch somebody in the face for wearing a red hat. He didn't say, "Oh, you're off your medication." He didn't try to identify as a woman. He didn't do any of those things, but he says he has an opinion that you don't like, so get rid of it. I mean, why is everybody so sheltered? Like, you can disagree, that's fine. And you don't have to read the comic strip. You can go to a different newspaper, a different website. You don't have to watch his show on YouTube. In fact, I would be willing to bet that more people are going to watch it now, right? Is that the Streisand effect? I forget what it is. When you try to cancel something, but it only makes it bigger. You could have just left it alone and nobody would even be talking about it. But now it's everywhere, and more people are going to click the link than before. Now, of course, YouTube will probably get rid of him because of something he said. Because that's just not okay, right? Like, you can't even make a joke these days. Well, obviously, we know that. We know everything is off limits. If you're not walking on eggshells for every disgruntled, every marginalized, every single little minority group, if you're not walking on eggshells, then you're gonna get canceled, right? You're the mean guy. You're the mean person. Meanwhile, the immigrants are. I don't know how I got to them. The point is, they can do whatever they want. If you obey the doctrine, right, you can do whatever you want. We saw it. It started first back during early Rona, right? Don't even leave the house. Don't go to work. Of course, you could order delivery and put some man on a bike between you and your food. That was okay. But you couldn't go to work. You couldn't go to school. It was too dangerous. But When George Floyd happens, then you go out and protest because racism is more important. When Joe Biden wins, then you go out and share champagne with a mask. None of it makes any sense. And you're not allowed to have an opinion that, of course, goes against the approved narrative. It's all fake, right? Like, none of these people believe what they say, but you're supposed to believe what they say. And if you don't, you're the bad guy, obviously. Based on the current way things are going, the best advice I would give to white people is to get the hell away from black people. And wasn't there an old Chris Rock joke too, where Chris Rock says that black people hate white people and black people? I don't know. I'm going to butcher that joke, but it was like an old Chris Rock joke, I believe. So you can't say that anymore. And Chris Rock now is obviously, right, he's completely controlled. He's not going to go off the plantation now. In another episode of his online show Saturday, Adams said he had been making a point that everyone should be treated as an individual without discrimination, but you should avoid any group that doesn't respect you, even if there are people within the group who are fine. Okay, and this kind of reminds me of, this is a little bit off topic here, but when YG brought a young man on stage and he wouldn't say F Donald Trump, right? So that kid, he would have been canceled if he was caught rapping a YG song, a notorious YG song with N-bombs every other word, right? If that kid had been caught rapping that song, he would have been canceled. But then he goes on stage with that very same rapper and doesn't say F Donald Trump and gets canceled for that. So like I always say, the game is rigged. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. It's a catch-22. You can't win. And that's why they're always going to move the goalpost. Now look, I don't know too much about Scott Adams. He seems pretty based. I never really watched his show, but he has some pretty good takes, right? Like, seemed like a normal guy. Now, the way the media frames this, it sounds terrible. I guess if you watch the entire episode, it's probably not that extreme. Same thing with Kanye West. It sounds just awful, like he's the worst, most evil man on the planet when you write it down on a sheet of paper and just read those couple of words. But if you watch the 3-hour podcast, it just doesn't seem that extreme. But that, of course, they don't want you to do that. Right? They're going to put notices on your Instagram post. This is missing context. But when they take something out of context, you're supposed to wear that. Hold that. The Los Angeles Times cited Adams' quote, racist comments while announcing Saturday that Dilbert will be discontinued. Okay, so we're going to cancel him. San Antonio Express News, which is part of Hearst newspaper, said it will drop the Dilbert comic strip. Yeah, like anybody's reading that stuff anymore. Scott Adams already made his fortune. He's probably getting paid decently off YouTube until they cancel him. But he's not worried about this comic strip anymore, I would think. He seems like a smart enough guy. He's probably invested well. He's probably not too worried about it. He's also old, right? Old guys can say and do whatever they want, bro. He's grandfathered in. He can have an opinion you don't like. You don't have to cancel him for that. Or you can cancel him, fine. Who cares? Everybody's just so sensitive, bro. This also reminds me of that old story from the Summer of Love when we had a group of BLM protesters walking down the street and drinking beer off outdoor diners' tables and forcing them to put up a fist. That seems pretty extreme, but nobody had a problem with that. Right? When Wajahat Ali calls Nikki Haley a white supremacist, nobody has a problem with that. But when Don Lemon, a black man, says she's past her prime, everybody has a problem with that, and he's on timeout. Again, I can't believe I'm defending Don Lemon, but my point here is that the goalposts are always going to change. It's whack-a-mole out there, and the moral of the story is just obey every single thing we tell you, and you cannot have an opinion that we don't like. You are not allowed to do that. You can't say a stupid thing. I thought that was the whole point, right? Like, we live in America, where you are free to be stupid. You are free to be poor. You are free to get rich. You are free to do whatever you want. But as soon as you say one thing, as soon as they don't have control of your thoughts, you got to go. Because they don't care about how much crime you commit. They don't care if you start stealing from Walgreens every day. They don't care if you ransack a Givenchy store. They don't care. They don't care to control that. But they do care to control your thoughts at every single turn. This is crazy. It goes on, all these other publications that are canceling Dilbert because this guy said something mean on his YouTube channel. So, I don't know. Am I offended by Scott Adams? Absolutely not. Was I ever really reading Dilbert daily? No. Was I ever watching his daily YouTube show? No. But now he's probably going to see more clicks than he did before, simply because they're so mad at him that they want to cancel him, which of course is going to backfire unless unless YouTube gets rid of him, which is very possible. It may have happened by the time you see this video. So thank you for watching. Please like, comment, share, and of course, subscribe.